General James Hawkins watched with a sense of pride as the 2,000-pound tungsten slug sliced through the sky, slamming into the distant target with tremendous force. "Bullseye," shouted Lieutenant Commander Alvarez, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Hawkins nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Another success for the Planetary Defense Initiative," he said, his voice gruff but tinged with satisfaction. For the past 2 decades, the world's governments had poured countless resources into the development of these colossal weapons. Stretching over a mile in length, the railguns were capable of launching projectiles at speeds exceeding Mach 30, with enough kinetic energy to obliterate even the most formidable of targets. The idea had first been conceived during the height of the Second Cold War, when the threat of nuclear annihilation had loomed large over the global stage. Conventional missiles and aircraft were deemed too vulnerable, too easily intercepted by ever-advancing defensive systems. But a railgun, with its unparalleled velocity and destructive power, could penetrate even the most sophisticated shielding. And so the research and development began, a global effort that brought together the brightest minds in physics, engineering, and materials science. Superconducting magnets, hypersonic aerodynamics, and cutting-edge computational models, every aspect of the technology was meticulously refined and optimized. The progress was slow, often frustratingly so, but with each successful test, the scientists and engineers inched closer to their goal. Breakthroughs in capacitor design allowed for higher muzzle velocities. Advancements in targeting and guidance systems ensured pinpoint accuracy, and the development of advanced alloys, capable of withstanding the immense forces involved, pushed the limits of what was thought possible. As the years passed, the railguns grew ever more formidable. The initial prototypes, with their relatively modest ranges and payloads, were quickly overshadowed by larger, more powerful incarnations. 12-meter barrels gave way to 50-meter behemoths, their massive articulated mounts, capable of swiveling in a full 360-degree arc. The sheer scale of these weapons was staggering, dwarfing even the largest battleships of old. And as each new generation was unveiled, the military brass could scarcely contain their enthusiasm. "With these guns, we'll be able to strike any target, anywhere in the solar system," General Hawkins had declared at the unveiling of the latest model. "No enemy will be beyond our reach." And he was right. The railguns had become the ultimate deterrent, a technological marvel that made the very notion of conventional warfare obsolete. Any alien power that dared to challenge the Earth's sovereignty would be swiftly and decisively crushed. Their attacking force will be reduced to rubble by the barrage of hypersonic projectiles. But for all their power and prestige, the railguns were never intended to be used in anger. They were the ultimate insurance policy, a deterrent to ensure that no one can threaten Earth. "We're not here to wage war," Lieutenant Hawkins said, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. "We're here to prevent it." Alvarez nodded, understanding the gravity of their mission. "Yes, sir. These guns will ensure that no one ever dares to attack us." The 2 officers stood in silence, watching as the support crews began the arduous process of reloading the massive weapon. It was a delicate, meticulous task, requiring the coordination of dozens of highly trained technicians. "How many of these things do we have now?" Alvarez asked, his eyes scanning the sprawling military complex. 28, Hawkins replied, his voice tinged with a hint of pride. "And another dozen under construction around the world." Alvarez whistled, his eyebrows raised in surprise. "Guess the brass is really serious about this whole planetary defense thing." Hawkins chuckled, a rare display of mirth. "You have no idea." Indeed, the scale of the Planetary Defense Initiative was staggering. Across the globe, similar complexes had sprung up, each one housing its own formidable array of railguns. Some were larger, some were smaller, but all were united in their purpose, to safeguard the Earth from any potential threat. And the threats were many, like possibility of a catastrophic asteroid impact. The scenarios were endless, each one more dire than the last. But with the railguns in place, the world's leaders could rest easy, knowing that their planet was protected by the most advanced and deadly weapons humanity had ever conceived. Of course, the development of these colossal weapons had not come without its share of controversy. The sheer cost of the program, estimated to be in the trillions of dollars, had drawn the ire of some, who argued that the money could be better spent on social programs or environmental initiatives. But the proponents of the Planetary Defense Initiative were quick to counter these criticisms, pointing to the countless lives that would be saved in the event of a catastrophic attack. And with the specter of war always looming, the military and political establishment remained steadfast in their support for the program. And so the work continued, day in and day out, as the railguns grew ever more powerful and complex. The scientists and engineers pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible, driven by a sense of purpose that transcended mere politics or ideology. For them, it was about more than just building weapons. It was about safeguarding the future of humanity, about ensuring that their children and grandchildren would inherit a world free from the threat of annihilation. The night sky was shattered by a series of brilliant flashes, illuminating the distant horizon. General Hawkins and Lieutenant Commander Alvarez, who had been on their way to the officers' mess, froze in their tracks, their attention immediately riveted to the unfolding events. "What the hell?" Alvarez muttered, his brow furrowed in confusion. Hawkins didn't respond. His eyes narrowed as he scanned the sky. For a moment, there was only silence, save for the distant rumble of the railguns being activated. Then, a series of massive explosions rocked the complex, sending debris and dust billowing into the air. "Get to the command center," now Hawkins barked, already sprinting towards the reinforced bunker that housed the facility's nerve center. Alvarez was right on his heels, his heart pounding, as he tried to make sense of the situation. As they burst through the doors, they were greeted by the frantic activity of the duty officers, their fingers flying across the keyboards as they attempted to make sense of the unfolding crisis. "Report," Hawkins demanded, his voice cutting through the din. A young lieutenant, her face pale, turned to face him. "Sir, we're under attack. Unknown hostile vessels, approaching from high orbit. They're unlike anything we've ever seen before." Hawkins felt a chill run down his spine. "Hostile vessels? How many?" "At least a dozen, sir. They seem to be heavily armed, but our railguns are engaging them as we speak." Alvarez stepped forward. "Have we made contact?" "Tried to communicate." The lieutenant shook her head. "Negative, sir. They haven't responded to any of our hails. It's as if they're ignoring us." Hawkins exchanged a troubled glance with Alvarez. "Bring up the tactical display," he ordered. "I want a full set trep." The large screen at the front of the command center flickered to life, revealing a real-time depiction of the unfolding battle. Hawkins could see the massive railguns, their barrels elevated towards the sky, unleashing a barrage of hypersonic projectiles. And in response, the alien vessels, angular craft that seemed to defy the laws of aerodynamics, were firing back with weapons that defied any known technology. "They're using some kind of directed energy weapons," one of the technicians reported, his voice tinged with awe. "The impacts are tearing our railguns apart like they're made of paper." Hawkins gritted his teeth, his mind racing. "Scramble all available air and missile units," he ordered. "We need to buy time for the railguns to regroup and reload." As the command center sprang into action, Alvarez turned to Hawkins, his expression grim. "Sir, do we have any idea what these things are, where they're from?" Hawkins shook his head. "No, and that's what worries me. We've never encountered anything like this before. It's like they're from another world entirely." The lieutenant spoke up, her voice trembling. "That's exactly what we think, sir. Our analysts believe these vessels are of extraterrestrial origin." Hawkins felt a knot of dread form in the pit of his stomach. Extraterrestrial invaders, the very thought was almost too much to comprehend. For centuries, humanity had believed itself to be alone in the universe, secure in the knowledge that their technological might would be sufficient to defend their home world. But now, that notion had been shattered, and as the battle raged on, with the alien craft seemingly impervious to the railguns' devastating firepower, Hawkins knew that they were facing a threat, unlike any they had ever encountered before. The air was filled with the deafening roar of jet engines, as a squadron of advanced fighter bombers streaked across the sky, their missile pods unleashing a withering barrage of weapons. But to the horror of the watching officers, the alien vessels simply shrugged off the attacks, their energy weapons slicing through the aircraft with ease. One by one, the planes fell, their mangled remains plummeting to the ground. And still, the alien ships continued their advance, drawing ever closer to the railgun complex. Hawkins clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. "Damn it! Why aren't the railguns working?" he growled. The lieutenant's fingers flew across her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Sir, it seems the alien weapons are disrupting our targeting and guidance systems. We're having trouble maintaining a lock." Alvarez swore under his breath, his face etched with frustration. "So what? Are we just supposed to sit here and watch them tear us apart?" Hawkins was about to respond when a sudden explosion rocked the command center, sending sparks and debris flying. The lights flickered, and for a moment the tactical display went dark. "Status report," Hawkins barked, his voice barely audible over the din. "We've taken a direct hit, sir," the lieutenant shouted. "Main power is down, and we've lost communication with the outer defenses." Alvarez's eyes widened in alarm. "That means the railguns are defenseless." Hawkins felt a chill run down his spine. If the railguns were neutralized, the entire complex would be vulnerable to the alien onslaught. And without any means of communication, there would be no way to coordinate a counterattack. "Get those systems back online now," he ordered, his voice tinged with desperation. "We need to buy some time, or we're all dead." The command center erupted into a flurry of activity, with the technicians and officers working feverishly to restore power and reestablish communication. But as the minutes ticked by, it became increasingly clear that they were fighting a losing battle. Outside, the alien ships continued their assault, their energy weapons tearing through the railguns' defensive emplacements with ease. One by one, the massive weapons fell silent, their once formidable barrels reduced to twisted, smoldering wrecks. Hawkins watched the unfolding disaster, his heart sinking with each passing moment. The railguns were the cornerstone of the Planetary Defense Initiative, the ultimate deterrent against any potential threat. And now they were being swept aside like mere toys, their vaunted power rendered utterly meaningless. "Sir, we've lost contact with half the railgun sites," the lieutenant reported, her voice shaking. "The aliens are systematically taking them out, one by one." Alvarez stepped forward. "We need to evacuate, sir. There's nothing more we can do here." Hawkins hesitated, his mind racing. The idea of abandoning the complex, of leaving the railguns and the countless personnel under his command to the mercy of the alien invaders, was almost too much to bear. "No," he said, "we fight. We fight until the last man." Alvarez opened his mouth to protest, but Hawkins cut him off with a raised hand. "We're the last line of defense, Alvarez. If we fall, then the entire planet falls." With that, Hawkins turned his attention back to the tactical display, his eyes narrowing as he studied the alien vessel's movements. There had to be a weakness, some vulnerability that they could exploit. "Sir, the alien ships are concentrating their fire on the main railgun control center," the lieutenant reported. "If they take that out, we'll be completely defenseless." Hawkins nodded, his mind racing. "Then that's where we make our stand. Divert all available power to the main railgun. We're going to hit them with everything we've got." The command center erupted into a flurry of activity, with the technicians and officers rushing to comply with Hawkins' orders. The main railgun, a massive weapon that dwarfed even the largest of its counterparts, began to whir to life, its capacitors charging with a deafening hum. Alvarez stepped up to Hawkins' side. "Sir, you know this is a suicide mission, right?" Hawkins met his gaze. "Maybe. But if we can take out their command ship, it might be enough to turn the tide. We have to try." Alvarez nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "I'm with you, sir, until the end." As the alien ships closed in, the main railgun began to fire, its massive projectile tearing through the void with devastating force. The command center held its collective breath, watching as the slug slammed into the lead alien vessel. The impact was catastrophic, the alien ship's shields flaring brightly before collapsing entirely. The railgun's round punched straight through the hull, decimating the enemy craft from stem to stern. Atmosphere vented into space as the alien ship broke apart, its once menacing form reduced to a rapidly expanding cloud of debris. A cheer went up from the command crew as they witnessed the aliens' flagship destroyed. But their triumph was short-lived, for the remaining alien ships immediately broke formation and surged forward, their weapons batteries opening fire. The command center was suddenly alive with shouted orders and frantic activity as they scrambled to ready the defensive batteries. They knew they had only bought a brief respite with the destruction of the lead ship. As the alien ships pressed their attack, the command crew braced for the onslaught. Their defensive batteries opened up, pouring a withering barrage of fire into the approaching enemy vessels, missiles slamming into the alien shields with tremendous force. The railguns commanded by General Hawkins and Lieutenant Alvarez from the command center proved far deadlier than the aliens had anticipated. Salvos of massive metal slugs tore through the alien formations, shredding their hulls and sending them careening out of control. The enemy ships, their shields overwhelmed, were simply no match for the raw power of the human railguns. After the battle, alien vessels were salvaged. The alien ships boasted advanced propulsion, shielding, and weaponry that dwarfed the capabilities of even the most advanced human designs. This serendipitous event, however, would prove to be a boon for humanity. With access to these alien technologies, engineers and scientists could now study and reverse engineer them, propelling humanity's technological progress forward at an unprecedented rate. Within months, they had achieved functional faster than light travel, cracking the mysteries of the alien engines and adapting the technology for their own use. But this was just the beginning. As they delved deeper into the alien designs, they made one astounding discovery after another. The humans went on to develop even more advanced propulsion systems, including hyperdrives that allowed for near-instantaneous travel across the vast expanse of the galaxy. Suddenly, the vastness of space seemed to shrink, and the possibilities for exploration and expansion became limitless. But the humans' technological revolution was not just about hardware. They also embraced the use of artificial intelligence, granting it equal rights as sentient beings. This bold move further fueled their progress, as the AI worked alongside their human counterparts, bringing their immense computational power and analytical capabilities to bear on the challenges they faced. The aliens who attacked the Earth for its resources found themselves falling behind at an alarming rate. They watched in frustration as the humans, once considered a backwater species, surpassed them in nearly every field of scientific and technological endeavor. They had not only repelled the alien invasion, but had gained access to technology that would catapult their civilization to new heights. General Hawkins, his eyes narrowed. "They must be worried," he muttered, a note of satisfaction in his voice. "They didn't expect us to adapt this quickly." Colonel Alvarez, standing beside him, "That's just the beginning, sir. Now we take the fight to them." Hawkins turned to his second in command, a grim smile spreading across his face. "Prepare the fleet. We're going to show these aliens exactly what humanity is capable of." The next phase of the human offensive was a bold one. Equipping their ships with the newly reverse-engineered alien technologies, they launched a series of lightning strikes deep into enemy territory. The alien worlds, once seemingly impregnable, now found themselves vulnerable to the relentless human onslaught. The human fleet moved with a speed and precision that the aliens had never encountered before. They struck hard and fast, overwhelming the enemy defenses and seizing key strategic assets before the aliens could even mount a proper response. As the campaign progressed, the humans began to uncover the true nature of their alien adversaries. Through captured intelligence and the study of their technology, they learned that the alien civilization was not a singular unified entity, but rather a fragmented confederation of warring factions. The turning point came when the humans, through a daring raid, were able to capture a high-ranking alien commander. This individual, once interrogated, revealed the deep divisions and infighting that had plagued the alien confederation for centuries. With this crucial intelligence, the humans were able to devise a strategy that would drive a wedge between the warring factions, setting them against one another. This revelation proved to be a crucial advantage for the humans. They were able to exploit the divisions and rivalries within the alien ranks, pitting one faction against another, and sowing chaos throughout the enemy's territory. The aliens, once confident in their technological superiority, now found themselves scrambling to adapt to the rapidly evolving human threat. The battles that followed were fierce and hard-fought, with both sides employing the most advanced weapons and tactics at their disposal. The humans, driven to protect their homeworld and secure their place in the galaxy, fought with a tenacity that surprised even their own commanders. As the dust settled, the human commanders stood amidst the ruins of the alien armadas, a sense of awe and disbelief etched on their faces. They had not only repelled the initial invasion, but had now secured a decisive strategic advantage that would reshape the course of the entire conflict. General Hawkins, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon, contemplated the magnitude of their accomplishment. "We've done it," he murmured, a note of wonder in his voice. "We've proven that humanity can stand toe-to-toe with the greatest civilizations in the galaxy." Colonel Alvarez, standing beside him, nodded solemnly. "This is just the beginning, sir. Now the real work begins.